if you managed to catch my introduction video of Mr. Serling, this title might sound familiar to you, as one of the 3 episodes pitched by Serling to his investors. Thankfully, they changed Mr. Dingle to Mr. Denton, an incredibly wise choice. There is a Season 2 episode with Mr. Dingle though, so don't get too disappointed. This is our first Western, and there are about a half a dozen episodes set in this famous American time period. Let's see where this episode begins, then I'll share my thoughts, as is the standard so far. Mr. Denton on Doomsday was directed by Alan Resner and written by Rod Serling. Our story opens as most good westerns should, with someone pissed drunk.
Let's see you pay for your drink. In your own inimitable fashion, huh? A song, Denton. How about it? How dry... Come on now, come on. Come on, Denton. Get up. Come on, Denton.
How dry I am. How dry I am.
Charlie, can't you break that up?
Nobody knows.
I don't like it any more than you do. The misery they give that guy out there.
How dry I am. Nobody cares. How dry I am.
Our protagonist this episode is one Al Denton, played by Dan Duryea. Once upon a time, he was the fastest shot in the West, and had young up-and-comers from every corner of the country knocking on his door to challenge him. Every single one of them now inhabits a grave somewhere. Haunted by killing so many men just to show off his prowess, his guilt and regret has driven him into drinking, and, as a result, has become the town laughingstock. But that's all about to change. A travelling peddler by the name of Henry J. Fate, no, really, that's the name they went with, decides to give Denton a chance at redemption. Denton gets given a magic pistol, which apparently Fate can manipulate. Well, more accurately, Denton finds a pistol on the ground that Henry Fate put there. After shooting the moron bothering him, he walks in the bar, the guy follows him in, and Denton, guided by the magical gun, shoots the lantern off the ceiling, forcing the douchebag who was challenging him to jump back. This was apparently enough to undo years of alcoholism, and Denton snaps out of his torpor and tries to sober up, saying he's going to go and get a shave. The bar hostess, Liz, follows him out, and Denton spills his guts. Not literally, thankfully.
I think everything's going to be all right now. Understand? But Charlie says you're as good with a gun now as you ever were.
That's what Charlie says, son. I was good. I was real good. I was so good that once a day, someone would ride into town to make me prove it. And every morning, I'd start my drinking a few minutes earlier. Until one morning, the guy who asked me to prove it turned out to be 16 years old. I left him there on his face, right there in front of the saloon. I left him there bleeding to death with my bullet in him. I guess it'll start all over again now. Every fast and fancy man who owns a gun will come riding in down that street. Only this time it'll be me face down, bleeding to death.
Denton knows that word will get around that he's back in the saddle, and it won't be long until new up-and-comers try to challenge him again. Question: did anyone have any jobs or anything back then? Apparently, everyone had free time to travel miles and miles and challenge people to duels. Anyways, Since there's only about 10 minutes of runtime left, someone basically appears to challenge him immediately.
Tall man. Doesn't usually wear his gun. Blonde hair.
Who's that to Scrap?
Describes a man named Al Denton. Supposed to be top gun here. Would that be you?
That'd be me.
I got a message for you, Denton. Comes from Pete Grant.
Well, let's hear the message.
Pete'll be in town tomorrow night at 10. He'll meet you over in the saloon.
Look, you tell him. You tell him there's no call. Tell Mr. Grant I'll be there tomorrow night. I'll wait for his pleasure.
That's just what it'll be.
After the messenger leaves, Denton decides to practice gunnery once again. But without Mr. Fate to guide the bullets, he realizes that he actually can't shoot anymore and makes the decision to leave town that night, rather than face a suicidal gunfight. As he makes his getaway, he runs smack dab into Mr. Fate. Again, not literally.
Evening, Mr. Denton.
I can't use anything.
How's that?
I can't use anything. You're a peddler, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Dealer in everything. Utensils, herbs, medicine, liniments and tonics, farm implements, clothing, and potions. Oh, yes, potions. Kind of a sideline, you might say. Fate's the name. Henry J. Fate. And you're Al Denton, and you're running away. You shouldn't, you know. You shouldn't run away.
I shouldn't. Yeah, I guess you're right. I shouldn't run away. I should stay here and get shot to death. I guess that's what I should do. Curse this thing. Curse the moment I found it.
No, no, no. Don't curse it, Mr. Denton. Use it. Here. This is one of my potions. You might call it that, or an elixir. Either way, it'll help solve your problem, Mr. Denton.
Rather than not buying the strange elixir from the man he just met, he takes it and finds that it indeed gives him the magical accuracy that he needs. Or at least desires. With the newfound confidence that magic provides, he steels himself to face his opponent the following day. Thing is, his opponent has the same potion helping him out. The showdown commences. Denton and his brash, eager opponent fire simultaneously, hitting each other in the hand, rendering them unable to ever shoot a pistol again. Denton realizes this whole ordeal has been a blessing. Now he can never kill again. And his opponent has been saved from a similar life. The episode ends as Henry J. Fate smiles and rides out of town. Both this episode and One for the Angels share a common element. Both have anthropomorphization. That million-dollar word is the concept of applying human-like traits to a non-human entity. Hey, got to justify that college education somehow. In this case, Sterling has anthropomorphized fate, the very idea of a guiding force in life. It's not a very subtle literary device, but then Sterling's not a very subtle writer. Henry Fate could be seen as an author avatar, pushing the story along by introducing plot-important items throughout the narrative. It's an interesting meta-narrative that Sterling constructs as a result, as it's easier for the character to interact with another character who's making things happen, rather than simply finding the items randomly. While not a perfect episode, the A-plus dialogue, classic Western movie tension, and interesting use of author avatar scored this episode 2 out of 3 fedoras from me.